It's Labor Day, so we're saluting the Rays grinders, the guys who turned effort into their calling card.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Rays podcast. Locked On Rays is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we are Kevin and Ulises.
And we are lifelong Rays fans who have been podcasting about the Tampa Bay Rays since 2019.
Later on in today's Labor Day episode, we'll dive into how James Shields set the standard for Rays pitching culture. In a bit, we'll relive Kevin Kiermaier's fearless defense in the walls that paid the price. But first, we're building the Rays Grinder Hall of Fame.
And we're going to talk about all of that thanks to FanDuel, people. Download FanDuel app today. Football season is just around the corner, and start planning your futures bets today. Kevin, I don't want to sound like LeBron here, but first of all, happy Labor Day.
Yes, we all need a good Labor Day weekend.
Yes,
it is much needed. And I guess we could consider ourselves grinders because we're recording a Labor Day episode. While other Locked On hosts are taking that day off, we are putting our nose to the grindstone and getting it done for you.
And today, for this Labor Day episode, we wanted to focus on those guys that made effort their calling card. And let's start to do the honorable mentions. I feel like, you can't put everybody on the podium. So I think some honorable mentions from the past and some from the present need to be highlighted a little bit. So Kevin, do you want to start with your first honorable mention?
Yes, I would say, and this is within the last couple of years, Joey Wendle always seemed to be a guy that represented the definition of a grinder in baseball. He was an older rookie. We knew about the no batting gloves, and he just was a hard worker, didn't have the most talent or athleticism in the world, but he was able to carve out a spot for himself. He's the guy that is the typical or prototypical lunch pail dude. When you look at him, you say, yeah, that guy works hard and doesn't just rely on his natural ability and talent. He puts in the effort to get it done. And I think that was always appreciated about Wendell. Plus, the ability, the versatility of him to play multiple positions throughout the infield when called upon.
Yeah. And you've heard the stories with his older brothers, and there was a lot of, I want to say bullying, but close to it, where, he had to grow that in, usually with not being a high stature guy in every sport except for maybe jockeying,
right.
Where it's an advantage. You're going to have to do a lot of work. You're going to have to impress a lot of people. And Joey Wendle definitely does that. And I think one of the cool things was when the Rays make that trade, let's not forget that on the same day, the Yankees make the trade for Giancarlo Stanton. So the whole joke was like, wow, look at the Rays responding back with getting a Joey Wendle, and nobody knew who Joey Wendle was. Yeah. And while the Yankees are going to get Stanton. And I believe that in the time span that Wendell was with the Rays, and did you take the same year spans between Giancarlo Stanton until the day that Wendell left the Rays, Wendell actually had a higher F4 than Giancarlo Stanton.
Because he was actually available and on the field. Look, if Giancarlo Stanton was on the field,
sure,
for the same amount of games as Wendell, the war wouldn't be close. But it just
goes
to show you that, hey, you got to see these trades play out over time. So I think Joey Wendle is an appropriate name. There's a lot of other names, though, that we should bring up on this honorable mention list.
Yes, and let's go quickly with them. Let's go with Ben Zobrist.
Yeah,
that's a guy who his versatility was great. Even his manager called him a no chrome guy, which and hey, won't make highlight reels, but he's a steady guy. He played shortstop, he played second base, he played right field. I mean, you could put him anywhere, and Ben Zobrist would respond, man.
Yeah, and he was a guy that, helped bring the Rays a winning culture. I think he was a big piece of that, and he was technically overlooked by guys like David Price and Evan Longoria and Carlos Pena and Carl Crawford. But Ben Zobrist was as valuable or more valuable in certain seasons during his tenure with the Rays. Another guy that I want to bring up is Sam Fuld, a guy who was literally, but you could see the effort from him in the outfield. And, he also had to overcome diabetes too, which is a serious thing that you have to deal with in trying to play professional sport with that condition. Certainly isn't easy. And while he didn't, put up earth-shattering numbers, I think that he was a testament to a guy that had to work hard to get where he was. And if I recall, he was a little bit of a older rookie. He was a late bloomer, similar to some other guys on this list.
Yeah, and I think if you were a Rays fan in 2011, you most certainly remember Sam Fuld, and imagine the impact that you have to have where you're not there for longer than 3 seasons, and you're a part-time player, and people remember you fondly. So he had a great 6 weeks where he basically was the best player. And I think we should
Superman Sam Fuld, remember that?
Yeah, Superman. I think honorable mentions from the past are we should add Brett Phillips. I think Brett Phillips should make this list. Yes, the offensive prowess might have not been there, but that's kind of part of the definition of what we're talking about. It's the effort, like how much of a grinder Brett Phillips was. I mean, he would do some plays out in the outfield, even when he was pitching. There's a highlight reel when he was pitching, and then he makes a sliding catch over to the away dugout in Tropicana Field. Like, he was a guy that was all effort all the time.
Yeah, he would do anything when asked, and I think there's a correlation between grinders and fan favorites, and I think there are some fan favorites on this list. And there's also guys that are on the Rays current roster that could live up to the definition of a grinder mold. For example, Jake Mangum is one for sure, being an older rookie, and the fact that he did get nominated for the Heart and Hustle Award, and I think won that with the Rays this year. And you can tell he kind of fits the mold of some of the other names that we've mentioned as well. And there's actually an article from the Tampa Bay Times that outlined what he's had to do to get to this point and how he's had to make constant adjustments to stay at the major league level, because there is, as we know, such a gap between AAA in the majors, especially when you see how pitchers are trying to
attack
to get you out, and defenders are so much better and more athletic than what you've dealt with at the minor leagues and the college level. And he's a switch hitter, and we've seen some amazing plays in the outfield too.
And simply, there's
hard running.
The scouting reports are just deeper and much longer than in AAA, right? So it's easier to find adjustments or flaws rather that then the player has to make adjustments for. And so, yeah, Jake Mangum definitely makes this list of the present. I would also garner Chandler Simpson. It can't be easy to be a guy that does everything that is not valued in today's baseball.
Right.
It's just not. So imagine how much work how elite you have to be for people to talk about you. How elite you have to be for people to say, well, the OPS is in there. Well, he won't ever hit a home run. Like, imagine how good and how much work you have to do to, in the year 2025, make a splash and people actually like what you're doing. Like, that's how much work Chandler Simpson has put in. So I think he definitely makes this list alongside Jake Mangum.
Yeah, let me say this about Chandler Simpson too. He was a guy that was called up, looked pretty good, but had some things to work on, was sent down and made really solid improvements. He did what the Rays asked him to do, is, hey, work on your on-base percentage, work on getting into deeper counts, work on lengthening those at bats if need be, and then improving the defensive component on your game. And clearly we haven't seen him sent down again. So he's doing what is being asked of him.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we should close out with the honorable mentions with a guy who's been with the club for a long time, and that's Brandon Lowe. Look, the stature game, we've talked about that. Brandon Lowe, not the tallest guy in there, but he does have some pop. But I put him here on this list because second base doesn't usually get a lot of highlight reel or a lot of cachet for being a premier defensive position.
Mm-hmm.
He does a solid job. I would compare him to Ben Zobrist in that regard. Like I think he maybe has a little bit more chrome than Ben Zobrist at times, but he's just a solid second baseman. But with the stature that he has and the pop and the torque that he can produce, it's crazy. But I put him on this list, Kevin, because imagine how much work you have to put in when you are drafted with a broken leg. I think it was a broken tibia, and you get drafted. I mean, the amount of work and effort to recuperate from that big injury and still put up numbers where you actually get to the major leagues and are a mainstay. He has never been sent down. You're struggling. No, he's just been a mainstay once been brought up. So I think Brandon Lowe makes this list.
Yeah, I think, part of maybe the definition of being a grinder typically is you have to be a smaller stature guy. You have to overcome the prototype of, hey, you have to be 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", at least to be a big contributor offensively. And, Brandon Lowe is a guy, Chandler Simpson, Jake Mangum, Brett Phillips, Sam Fuld. Those were all smaller guys, if you will.
From grinders in general to one grinder in particular, Kevin Kiermaier, the defender who treated center field like a battlefield. Hey, Locked On Rays fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Well, don't do that. Stop leaving money behind and get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use our limited time promo code and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You're already going to get gas, right? Well, why don't you get up to $300 a year just from buying that gas you already needed? Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and then you can cash out at any time using PayPal or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. So don't let this offer drive by. Download the free Upside app right now. Use our limited time code for a limited 25-cent per gallon bonus. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. The NFL season is almost here. Kevin is psyched, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. That's $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Sounds like a pretty good deal, people. And what makes FanDuel amazing is that it's quick, easy, and it's the best way to add a little green Skittles on your Sunday that you don't know where to put them. Well, you can use FanDuel for that. You got same game parlays, even jumping in live as the action unfolds. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Thank you for listening to Locked On Rays and watching on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Yeah, so Kevin, we gave the honorable mentions to the guys who made effort their calling card, but I think in the podium of these guys, Kevin Kiermaier has to be in the podium because when you are drafted in a round that no longer exists,
right,
in baseball, that means something. I think that's where you start.
Yeah.
He was drafted in a round that no longer exists. Imagine how much work you have to do to get to the major leagues and become a 4-time Gold Glover, a one-time Platinum Gold Glover, a World Series winner on your
Right.
last year. Just Kevin Kiermaier needs to be on this podium.
He does. 31st round draft pick, by the way. And now the draft has been contracted to 20 rounds. And there's a lot to overcome when you're drafted that late, when you're not a first, second, third, fourth, even fifth rounder, because the priority and all the opportunities and the second and third chances goes to those guys.
Right.
When you're a 31st round draft pick, you don't have a lot of opportunities for mess ups. And if you struggle in the minors or get injured, you might get dropped and you might have to work for UPS or something. So the fact that he was able to navigate all that and, make an impact for Tampa Bay for so long, really goes to show that grinder mindset. And yes, we can complain and bring issue with the fact that he got hurt often and very rarely played a complete season with the Rays. I mean, really the only complete season was in 2015 where he played 151 games. But the reason because that was because he was fearless in the outfield and sacrificed his body almost to a fault, whether it's diving head first or crashing into walls, those first reads, doing whatever he had to do to make that 5-star quality catch in the outfield. And I think that's something that we probably should focus a little bit more on is, yes, he got hurt, but why he got hurt was because he was trying to make a play and help the team win a ball game and save a run.
I think that's exactly why he makes this podium, because the flaw that you can say about Kiermaier was, oh, well, he got hurt all the time. Yeah, but why did he get hurt? Because he was slacking off? Because he had a body that couldn't take it? No, It's because he was doing things that nobody else could do. And when you put on top the fact that he was doing it on turf, this guy,
yes,
I mean, no wonder he could. I mean, he was putting so much effort literally into his body to make these catches, to make these dives. It really makes you think, okay, well, if he wasn't that fearless, he probably would have had a little bit more longevity, but then he wouldn't have been Kevin Kiermaier.
No, he wouldn't have been the Gold Glove recipient year in and year out. And pretty much every defensive metric, it can be a little iffy sometimes between defensive runs saved and outs above average and defensive WAR, but pretty much every marker says, yeah, he was one of the best and the best center fielder for his time period.
Which you see sometimes guys that you're like, oh, this guy's a good glove. And then some metrics don't like him. And we see it with Taylor Walls. One metric loves him and the other one hates him. Like Kevin Kiermaier was so bleeping good that all of them were like, no. This is probably.
Yeah. He broke the system.
Yeah, he broke the system. And personally speaking, I haven't seen a better defensive center fielder than Kevin Kiermaier. I mean, he did things I haven't seen. And yeah, you can tell me Jim Edmonds and you can tell me, Torrey Hunter, Andrew Jones, all fantastic in their own right. But subjectively speaking, the guy that I've seen the most in center field obviously would be Kevin Kiermaier. And I haven't seen anybody just do the things. I mean, there were times, Kevin, when you saw a ball come out of the bat and you were like, he's gonna do it, isn't he? And then he did it. Like, and imagine how good you have to be. Joe Girardi had this story where they played the Kiermaier game. When a ball came out of the bat, they would be like, does Kiermaier get to that? Imagine an opposing manager in your own division saying that they play the Kiermaier game. That's insane. That's how good you are. So, yeah, Kevin Kiermaier for me makes this podium easily.
Yeah, and you make a good point about the turf because you wonder how much that impacted his career. And we hear about it all the time is some players, besides, the fan support's not there and they trade players all the time. It's the turf that can be a preventer from free agents signing with the team. Or we see guys on the other side get hurt or get injured after just playing a 3 or 4 game series at the Trop. And, it's revisionist history, I guess, a little bit, but you would just like to think that if he was playing on a traditional field, how that could have lengthened his career, because that is tough on the joints, on the knees, on the body. And the fact that he's, sacrificing his body every single game, every single play that he has an opportunity. He's the type of guy that, we talk about, okay, circle this name on the lineup card. You're circling his name on the defensive card of saying, don't hit it near him because it's going to be an out. If you're going to hit it near him, it better be over the fence and straightaway center. And even then, he might have a chance to leap up and catch it.
Exactly. And we have seen a lot of ball, and we have seen a ton of center fielders, and a ton of center fielders that are really good, that can do amazing things. But one thing I liked about Kevin Kiermaier is, he could ham it up. He could ham it up and maybe jump when he didn't need to, or twirl it, But you know what I appreciate about Kevin is that he did that after the play was secured, after the out was made. He never sacrificed an out to look cool. Never. He looked cool after the out was made, and sometimes unnecessarily so.
Yeah.
But he made the out. There are many guys, and we've seen Rays center fielders that do this, that prefer to look cool before the out is made, and then the out doesn't get made. Kevin Kiermaier never did that.
Yeah, and we've heard stories about, again, the ability defensively doesn't come by accident. It is effort and work in the offseason and before games and working with the coaches and looking at the scouting reports. It is a lot more than just, all right, I'm going to show up and try to make the best catch ever. It's you're putting in so much more work than is actually seen or talked about, which clearly goes to the grinder mindset as well. Speaking of durability, and grinder mentality. Complete game, James Shields didn't just play hard. He showed an entire generation of Rays pitchers what it meant to live to that definition of grinder. All right, listeners, we have an important request for you all. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping out.
This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. Isn't that nice? And you and I make decisions every day. Kevin does as well. But on PrizePicks, being right means cashing. And wouldn't it be nice to be right and get some green Skittles back? Well, PrizePicks does exactly that. It's quick, easy, and everybody's favorite way to follow along with football. So today, download the PrizePicks app and use code LOCKEDONMLB. You get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. So again, download the PrizePicks app, use code LOCKEDONMLB, and you get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it's good to be right.
Thank you for listening to the Locked On Rays podcast and making us your first listen every day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Ulises, for the first two segments, we've pretty much exclusively talked and discussed position players and a lot of outfielders at that. But we need to turn our attention to a true preeminent grinder, and that is big game James Shields. All you have to do is go to his baseball reference page and see how many times consecutively he threw over 200 innings and the amount of complete games he had. And he was also a guy that, yes, he wasn't drafted as late as Kevin Kiermaier, but he was drafted in the the 13th round, something in that ballpark. So he wasn't a first, second, third, fourth, or fifth rounder. But besides the ability and capability to, give you 30 to 35 starts every year and rack up innings each and every year, he also was known as a guy who mentored other young up and coming pitchers like David Price, Alex Cobb, Chris Archer, Matt Moore, and so many others. And I think sometimes that gets lost in the grinder definition of, you're not just about yourself, but you're about helping the team and helping others and helping other young players find their role with the organization. And I think James Shields pretty much summed all of that up. And he's kind of, well, he is basically a lost art. His type of player, we're not really seeing much anymore, especially with the Rays and how they've gone, from a guy who can give you a complete game or consistently give you 7 and a third to 8. And now we've seen over the last several years is 5 and dive, heavy bullpen use and openers and all these different games so that, starters aren't, getting through the lineup the third time.
He was a workhorse. I mean, you look at his baseball ref and it's like 200 innings plus basically almost every year. I mean, that's effort. That's keeping yourself healthy. That's doing the work. But the effort of going above and beyond is also there by changing that culture within the pitching staff, like knowing that that's something important, that being there every fifth day, going more than 5 innings, keeping that bullpen healthy. Like James Shields changed that. And I know a lot of people will give the roses to Scott Kazmir as the first big Rays pitcher. And I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's really no contest for me of who changed the pitching culture. That was James Shields. I mean, that's a guy that had that bulldog mentality that has permeated, I mean, through this Rays organization since, let's say, 08, even though he did make his debut in 06. But that change of the guard, I think that mentality clicked was through James Shields. And when you look at, guys like Ryan Pepio, like that, you feel like that has been handed down through all of these guys. And James Shields started that, and he was so fun. You talk about would we like to have a James Shields in the 20 excuse me. Would we like to have a James Shields in 2025? Yeah, I would love to have a James Shields.
We'd like to have 5 of them, honestly.
And I'm not even asking for the 2011 All-Star season, which, by the way, people, 33 starts, 11 complete games. That's a third. That's 33% of the time where he's like, boys, go do jokes in the bullpen, play with the seats, get friendly heckled by the stands. I got it. I'll throw 9. Don't worry about it. Like, that's insane. That's insane. And like, if you were a Rays fan, we were so lucky to see that, to be able to see that guy perform like that, because I just don't think we're going to see that again. It would be great. I would love it if the Rays actually had a guy that they would be able to say, you know what, go for it. Like, you are an athlete. Go there, pitches 200 plus innings, get there in the 8th, get to the 9th. We got you. But they don't have that. Yeah. And baseball has shifted through that mentality. But yeah, what he did for the Rays was incredible, not only on the field, but in the clubhouse as well.
Yeah, really, I think the only guys, and I don't think there's a Rays player in the organization, whether at the big league club or in the minor league level, that will or can do what James Shields does. I don't know if we'll ever see a guy like James Shields again in a Rays uniform. I mean, for anybody to rack up innings similar to what James Shields did in his time, you have to be one of those unicorn pitchers. You have to be a Paul Skeens. You have to be a Logan Webb. You have to be a guy that more or less has a sub-3 ERA each and every season. And even then, you might not even get to 249 innings like James Shields was able to do. And what is really appreciative about that season in 2011, where he had a 5.8 WAR and he had 11 complete games and he had a 2.82 ERA, is the fact that it came basically after his worst season up to that point by far, where he had the 5.18 ERA in a negative WAR, and for him to turn it around on a dime and, hey, I'm going to make the changes to reestablish myself. That again is a testament to working hard and trying to figure out what went wrong in making those improvements. That doesn't happen by accident. I mean, there's a lot of, I think, pitchers out there, players that, after that bad season, they might not be that same player again, or they may not get back to what made them really good. And, just
Kevin,
looking at, go ahead.
He was called James Yields in 2010. He yielded run here and there, left and right. Like, that's how he was getting known by Rays, James Yield. And then he comes back with that such an amazing 2011 season, his only All-Star selection, which, by the way, we do agree that he probably should have been an All-Star a couple more times. But yeah, the type of work that you need to do during that offseason, keep your head clear and say, okay, that was awful, but let's work on that and not keep dragging that and turn it around. That's that mentality, that grinder mentality. That's the I am going to do the work that needs to be done in order to succeed.
Yeah, and keep your head clear when you give up a lot of home runs, because that was, also part of the calling card of James Shields is he gave up a lot of dingers, but to able to get through that and still work multiple quality starts, if not complete games, I think shows that, he's not going to let a bad moment or two ruin an outing or a season. And I just want to note, James Shields, as of today, and as of, I think, for a long time in the future, he is the career innings pitch leader for the Rays. He is the career strikeouts leader for the Rays. He is the career games started leader for the Rays. He is the complete games leader for the Rays. He is the complete, or the shutout leader for the Rays. So a lot of these records and marks that he has probably will never ever be broken. Maybe not in our lifetime, depending on the shift
of baseball.
Yeah, the shift of the game. But I don't really see anything shifting to the point that would allow you to create a James Shields 2.0.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's that. So that's our Labor Day episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If we missed some grinders from the past or the present, make sure to put them down in the YouTube comments, please.
Yeah. Somebody might mention Taylor Walls, I'm sure, but hey, go ahead. That's fine.
Yeah,
you can do that.
That's good. That's a good one. Yeah.
In the meantime, thank you all for listening to the Locked On Rays podcast. We appreciate it. For your next listen, check out the Locked On MLB Game Night show. Every game, every night, all season long. That can be found on the Locked On MLB YouTube channel and wherever you listen to your podcast.